Separate post. Good morning, good morning. This is yet another edition of We'll See How It Goes. And then we might have to run. I don't know if you can see in the background, the clouds are so angry. It's even worse. I don't think the camera does it justice, but I'll tell you what, look at these boys here. Can you see? Look at them. Poor, look so bedraggled. Like, you look around here on these guys, and again, they look so bedraggled. Bless them. Bless them. Anyway, so as I said, we'll see how far we end up going on today's walk. I think this might honestly end up being a pretty quick one, because the second it starts raining, I am stopping streaming and I am immediately making a dash to the indoors as fast as I can. So we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out. But yes, the reason why we're doing a Sunday one instead of a Saturday one, I was at Tabletop Live yesterday, a brand new event organised by the magazine Tabletop Live, and it was at Doncaster Racecourse. So it was interesting that it was over 2 days. I found it odd that was going to be over 2 days. If they do it next year, I don't think it'll be over 2 days, but I could be wrong. Maybe it will go from strength to strength and it'll get bigger every year, which will be great. It's good to have that big type of event, especially so close. I thought we Yorkshire puddings didn't mind a bit of rain. Yeah, a bit of rain being the the point in that sentence there. But good morning. Hose Popping, good morning to you. Ban of Harps, good morning to you. UK Marmalade, good morning. I say good morning. And welcome. Like I say, it's we have had so much rain this week. I'm sure some of you heard about the fact that I had to go help out a friend who, again, he was almost getting flooded. So far it hasn't happened yet, but they are at risk, shall we say. So hasn't happened yet, but the water is getting pretty high, and I think the sort of, in a way, we are expecting apparently a lot of snow. That's the next thing. Welcome to any international viewers, where of course in typical British fashion we talk about the weather. So I think we are expecting quite a bit of snow, maybe over the course of the next couple of days. So that might make it worse. That might make it better. I'm not an expert in that field, so we'll find out. But we are in a field at the moment. And as you can see, one of the big problems they have is when it just rains so much that the water just has nowhere to go, because it's just all absolutely clogged up, and just makes it even bigger mess in many of those ways. But yeah, enough about the weather. Yeah, we've had some interesting comments from Starmer recently regarding the EU, and I want to talk about that. Because as I said many moons ago, but you know, Starmer said, there's now problems with the US. We can't trust them. We're going to have to pursue a lot closer alignment with the EU. And oh me, oh my, what's that ringing in my ear? Oh, that's right, it's a telephone. Hello. Yes, I did say that, Donald Trump would probably push the UK closer to the EU. Oh, look. God, it's fun being right sometimes. Really do. It really is. But this, I think, does come, I think, with the obvious thing of what are these closer ties going to look like. I think we could probably end up seeing alignment at that point with the tiny pony. I think we could probably end up seeing a lot closer alignment with the EU, especially when it comes to like regulations and things like that, because that's the next area that is going to happen. There's a lot of new EU regulations that are going to come in, and it's going to be interesting to see what the regulatory framework is going to end up looking like. So one of the things that we know that's happening, especially regarding farmers, is that our pesticides, because as you can see it's quite a wet climate, we have to use a lot of pesticides that are adjusted for that climate. The big problem is a lot of those pesticides are now banned in the EU. So this is going to create a bigger problem. And of course, this time we don't have a seat at the table. We'll essentially be arguing from the outside. So that is something to see how those, whoops-a-daisy, there we go, almost stepped on a stone. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how those negotiations go and how they are sort of handled, especially with the fact that Starmer has come out and said, yeah, the Brexit days are over. We're going to, pursue closer ties with the EU. So that's something that I always said would happen. That now, whoops, walking on this path like this, not a good idea. Anyway, so yeah, the closer ties with the EU are going to be, I think, good. I think they will prove good over time. The question is what exactly now those ties are going to look like. Good morning, Dave W. Good morning, good morning. Good morning to everyone else joining us as well, by the way. Don't forget to hit the like and share button. So yeah, it is going to be interesting going forward, because we've got to see what those closer ties actually mean and what do they look like. Of course, you've also got, I don't know if people have seen Switzerland. They're doing a referendum recently to basically cap their population at like 10 million, and you're like, what? Yeah, and that was pushed by the far right, because their whole rules are, if you get something like 100,000 people to support a petition, then it gets put to a referendum. So that's something to keep a close eye on as well, because if that ends up passing, then it sort of forces their politicians to actually have to enact that. And if they do, that is going to really upset their economy very, very much so, because they rely a lot on the EU member states. They rely a lot of EU workers as well, especially working in like the finance sector. So that will be very interesting to keep an eye on when that happens, or at least what the result of that is, because that is going to cause a whole issue with the EU and Switzerland on that one. So that's something to look forward to when that happens. But you hopefully think, as you say, that at least the Swiss voters are not going to end up endorsing that. But then again, if you look at Japan, so Japan, if you don't know, is just very much elected a super ultra conservative. And I was having a look at stuff over there, and there was one person I saw from Japan basically blaming all the foreign influencers coming over and causing trouble, and that has apparently upset a lot of Japanese on that one. So yeah, whether how much that's true or not, again, I don't know, but it's yeah, that could prove some interesting stuff, I think, in the future. I think Chinese relations, as you've seen, basically plummeted on that one. They're talking about like getting rid of their the pacifist constitution, like formally acknowledging like the SDF as, or the JSDF as the as like an actual proper army rather than actual self-defense force, which would mean they would be able to like arm them more and expand them, which of course China isn't going to like on that one. They've reaffirmed, of course, their commitment. Well, she's reaffirmed their commitment to defending Taiwan, which again is good. You know, that's the type of stuff you want to see, of course. But it's certainly, if we talk about what's been often, you know, mooted, the 28 deadline for Z, that, you know, 2028 is going to be like the best, most opportune time window for China to go and take Taiwan, which you see a lot of people talking about. Now, so we get ever closer, of course, to that date, but after that date, it's just going to get worse for them to take that, mostly because of population issues. You know, that's, you know, remnants of their two-child policy, very, very much coming to hit China in that. So it is going to be interesting to see the how relations go in that area on that one, that's for sure. And the other thing I think they've seen as well is she really wants to get rid of gay marriage, or at least targeting gay marriage in some way, shape or form. That will be, if that passes, bear in mind, expect that to then be copied. Oh, expect that to be copied. You know, there's going to be a lot of, you know, American nationalists and, you know, dark conservative money come flooding into Japan to support that. And then if that passes there in Japan, they're going to try and replicate it, certainly in America, and then of course elsewhere as well. So that'll be interesting as well to keep an eye on what happens there on that front. But of course we've had a big NATO summit this week, so Starmer's actually done all right. You know, I've always, you know, praised, you know, Starmer especially because they've done actually quite good when it comes to, like, you know, UK foreign relations. You know, they've really, shall we say, actually, you know, set a very high bar, honestly, of what it comes to, you know, in handling, you know, international relations. I think they've handled, like, EU relations. I think they've rebuilt a lot of those bridges on that one. Of course, that, you know, the credit of that, of course, all goes to, you know, Starmer and Lammy. You know, when they were doing that, when they first got in, they've rebuilt all that. So that is, you know, very, very good. And it's now, how much can you build on that? And of course, what can you achieve, you know, from those good relations? And if Starmer, of course, has said he's serious about rebuilding EU and UK relations, then it's what will happen, what will come from that on that one. Good morning as well, by the way. Good morning, Billy. Good morning, everyone else joining us, by the way. Don't forget to click the like and share button. Always helps get more people in. We can always have a lively chat, for sure. Hang on. But yeah, it's it was also interesting the fact that they directly blamed Russia. We've directly blamed Russia for the Navalny poisoning. That was quite okay. No punches pulled there on that one. But I think we all knew who was behind that poisoning. Poison of choice being, of course, Putin's, preferred, shall we say, message of sending, other than, accidentally, falling out a window. So the big, of course, panic was, because a lot of people wrote about it, and it's just like, okay, we'll see. I don't know if people saw it, but it's a big panic factor. You saw a lot of people writing about this. The whole thing that if Russia wanted to take the Baltics, it could do so within a couple of hours. And you're like, have you not seen what's happened in Ukraine? Have you not seen what's happened in Ukraine? First of all, you've got to remember there are, there's UK bases. The second highest UK troop deployment is in Estonia. There's the Estonian military and the Baltics military as well, which have since 2022 stepped up their preparedness for something like this happening. The idea that it would go all Russia's way is super weird. If you ever read any of the articles that have come out about all this, it just presumes that everything would go Russia's way, that there would be no air cover, no nothing. And you're bear in mind, there aren't just UK bases in the Baltics, there are US bases in the Baltics as well. How is Russia going to respond to those bases? Because there is every chance that they would probably end up attacking one of those bases. And how is, a Donald Trump going to respond to that? He's just going to say, oh, whoops, sorry. I don't think so. I think at that point he would, respond to that. And then, of course, there's the whole thing that they're also predicting, America's going to pull out of, all those, European bases. Always remember that since Donald Trump has got in, as much as they have talked about abandoning, Europe and saying, you're on your own, they've never closed any US bases in Europe. They haven't decreased numbers in any of these US bases. They've stayed the same. I think honestly it's more a fact of they want to see more military spending, and they're hoping that military spending, of course, gets spent with US weapons makers. But if you've seen the response on this, and of course their own rhetoric, what that spending has been on isn't US weapon developers. It's been European weapons developers, because they've sort of gone, oh well, we don't want you to happen on this or anything like that. And it's oh, okay. So yeah, it's one of those odd moments where you read a lot about this. There's obviously been a lot of tankies jumping on this, saying, oh, NATO won't work or things like that. And you've seen a lot of the Russian blogosphere jumping on these articles as well, saying, yeah, we'll not only take, the Baltics, we'll take all of, Eastern Europe. And you're like, oh, okay. Have you seen how well-armed Poland is over the past couple of years? Have you seen how they are literally chomping at the bit to go in on Russia? Literally, if Poland got the excuse, it would go in on Russia. Like it's not. It doesn't need too much of an invitation, It's one of those odd situations where all these blogs, as I've said before, it just assumes that somehow everything goes Russia's way, and that they just flood in and take the Baltics. And you're like, that's a big assumption that everything goes, of course, Russia's way. And we saw during the initial 2020 invasion of Ukraine that the operations to stop all those columns worked incredibly well at not only just slowing down the advance but stopping the advance. Yeah, Poland doesn't get a VE day. I didn't know that, did they? Did they not get a VE day? So, I mean, it's so weird, this, and it's just like you can tell that the people who've written those blogs have not paid attention to like what's gone on in Ukraine. There was a whole thing recently that they were also putting about is, oh, drones. Oh yes, they got sovified, didn't they? Yes, you are right, Billy. Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that they write about is, oh, they're like completely unprepared for, like, Western military is completely unprepared for drones, and you're like, I don't think they are. A lot of like Western militaries have watched what's gone on in Ukraine with like the development of drones, like very, very carefully. The fact that, again, not even mentioned in the articles, some of them. One of them, I think, was in the was it the Daily Mail or was it the Tory Graph? Can't remember now. It was one of them. But the British Army actually has a anti-drone unit and a drone unit, and they practice against each other, and that has been heavily influenced by a lot of the Ukrainians as well, because when they've come over here, they've invited a lot of like people from those units operating in Ukraine to tell them about how they operate and what's going on in there. The other thing you've got to also remember is electronic warfare. Ukraine and Russia do not actually have that good electronic warfare setups. They do, but it's nothing compared to the other Western militaries, because they've built that up before this. So there is a lot of questions about that, and Russia would like dominate in instant with all like these drone swarms. You're like, that's again making a lot of assumptions that everything goes Russia's way, and that Western militaries have not been paying attention to drones. when they have they have been paying very close attention to what goes on in these areas, especially if you read a lot of like stuff about the military news and things like that, and you talk to like it's happening, it's going on, but it's just weird how I just find it weird how we're getting those articles now, like post 2022. This is the type of stuff you would see like in 2019 or like the mid-teens. Like but this all comes back from the whole Russia strong memes that were popular back in that time. So it's kind of odd that you are getting those weird, like such a weird article written at the time, but there you go. There you go. I wouldn't be too surprised if you were to look back up some of these people who've written those articles, whether to find out they had like also written articles that in the wake of like 2022 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that they all wrote articles saying that like Ukraine's going to fall in like less than a day or like 24 hours. But there you go on that one. Yeah, just a weird observation with these articles that are being written around that, and of course this wake of this conference. Of course, one of the big ones and stuff we saw coming out of course, this NATO conference is the fact that, once again, I think Europe is, pretty much prepared, shall we say, or basically running on the assumption if something happened in Europe, like there was a, invasion of the Baltics or something like that, that essentially the US would not come to play. And bear in mind, Europe has run these drills for years, assuming that the US would not get involved or something like that along those lines. So this is nothing new. The only assumption now, the big thing that has changed, is the fact that you've got, of course, Trump and Vance basically openly saying, we're not going to get involved. You guys should have to, defend yourselves on those lines. So this doesn't, it's shocking that you would get the US saying this straight to its allies, that we are not going to help or defend you if, you push the Article 5 button. I think that's the big takeaway here. That is something that, the US is saying, which has more shocked people in this. And it's very, very obvious, I think now, especially from this conference, that a lot of the European leaders are assuming that if Article 5 was triggered, the US wouldn't come to play. But as I've said before, Europe, if it came together, would be a very, very strong military force. European NATO and NATO and Europe would be, a very, very strong force. I think people very, very much underestimate it on that, purely because of the fact that most of these European powers haven't gone to war, or at least been involved in, a conflict of something like World War II, or at least, a proper war since then. And I think people are just massively underestimating these militaries. But, fair enough. Oh dear. I think it is. Yes, it is. It is starting to rain. Oh no. I think we're all right. Tell you what, we'll see how hard it rains a bit more, but if it gets more, we will call it a day. But we are close to the tunnel, so we'll try and make it to the tunnel before it does come down any harder. But yeah, it's I think it's very obvious. I think it's very, very obvious now that so many of, like, you know, European leaders, European, like, military thinkers and that are just like, right, if Article 5 is triggered while, you know, Trump is in office, it's more likely that he is not going to come and play, essentially, in this. So that's how they've switched their strategy. And always remember, you know, NATO has run, you know, European NATO has run drills like this before. Like, something happens and, you know, America doesn't come to play, right, we're on our own. So that was obviously, you know, a scenario that they used to run and do, but now they're, like, running it for, or at least assuming that that is probably more than likely that that is a scenario that will happen, especially given, pardon me, Rubio's comments at this. And I might even do a video just on Rubio's comments at some point, because he's pretty much saying, yeah, you guys have got to defend yourselves. It's just like, oh okay. Fair enough. So Rubio changing his tune on that as well. Although him saying that wasn't as bad as, of course, the last time Vance came over on that one. So that is something, at least. But it goes to show you again the different factions at play in the White House when it comes to this topic. And of course the Greens still can't make up their minds on NATO. Yeah, there's a motion on their spring conference basically to withdraw from NATO, which is, we'll see if that passes. But that is, you know, once again, as I've said, pushed by their Cavalan, good morning to you. That is, of course, pushed, as I said before, by the pacifist faction in the Greens, which again is a big source of their funding. On that one. So that will be fun if Zach Polanski's now forced to defend that position, given his confusing stance on NATO to begin with. And then the other thing I still don't understand is that he turns around and goes, oh yes, we're going to include the global south, such as countries like Mexico and Brazil. And you're like, wait, does Mexico know about this? Does Mexico know about this supposed new like alternative NATO? What's that about? And then of course the other hilarious one is Brazil. Like, why do you want, again, an alliance that is pretty much to defend against Russian aggression, and you are inviting a Russian ally in Brazil into this alliance? What? But this also goes to show you, I think, the hypocrisy of this move, because if Lula wasn't in charge of Brazil and it was Bolsonaro, I guarantee you they would not be mentioning Brazil. I guarantee you they would not be talking about Brazil at all. But this is the whole thing of, they just think, oh well, if someone bad comes in, that's it, you just cut all diplomatic ties. And it's like, no, because those diplomatic ties have been built up over long periods of time, and if you just cut them all, you've got to start all over again from scratch. I don't think they understand that. I think. But as I've said before, the left is not good at foreign policy, and I try at least to try and counterbalance that, to give, you know, a lefty view on foreign policy that, you know, is good and, you know, makes sense and is, you know, good, essentially. But anyway, we are, of course, now at the end of our very quick good morning walk, mostly again because of the weather. But I'll just show you these guys. Bless them. They look absolutely bedraggled. They look absolutely bedraggled, bless them. But, as always, thank you very much for joining me on this good morning, but not quite good morning walk. But as always, thank you very much for joining me. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.